So there's this article that's been making the rounds a little bit in the gaming world the last couple days, coming from Rock Paper Shotgun, explaining that they want a button to skip boss fights, specifically a win button to skip really the parts of the game you don't like. And apparently this writer, let's give him some credit here, John Walker, is a big proponent of giving games easy mode, not even easy modes, but non-difficulty modes essentially. Previously writing about how he'd want a way to skip through combat sections of the games or just skip ahead in general. This seems to be a big issue with him. Jesus, John, it sounds more to me like you just want to watch a movie than play a game, honestly. My first recommendation before I even get into this is possibly, if this is the way you feel, games just aren't your thing. If you want all this, and that's why I think this is sort of a non-issue, honestly. If people really wanted this, they would just wanted to watch and experience something. They're just going to watch a movie. And hell, if you're really just curious about a game, there's always YouTube Let's Plays. They've got that Long Plays channel if you don't want to listen to some 12-year-old shrieking into his mic along the way. So you could just watch someone play the game. Why even spend 60 bucks? You're going to get the same experience, basically. So where did this stem from? Well, apparently the upcoming Assassin's Creed Origins is going to have a, quote, Discovery Tour mode, removing all combat and challenges from the game to let players just freely experience their in-depth recreation of ancient Egypt. That's what they say. How nice. People who don't want to fight anything or have any challenge can still play the game. I'd say right off the bat, I'm not saying this is a problem, honestly. I could see that in a game like Assassin's Creed, and this is going to be like the kind of the point of my video, is that there are games that make sense with this, with having either easy difficulty modes or, you know, a story mode. But this article is really claiming that basically this is something everything should have, which I couldn't disagree with more. I could see people just kind of wanting to walk around this recreation of ancient Egypt. That doesn't really bother me. I'd still say I would love to see a percentage of the players that actually end up using this mode. And even beyond that, how many of the people who actually use it end up completing the whole game, because that's really his point, right? Like, oh, I can't complete the game, it's too hard. I need this, skip everything mode. I'd love to see how many players actually stick through it with this discovery mode from beginning to end. I do not think it would be many people. Because here's the thing. People play games typically for the challenge. Now, there are alternatives. Keyword here again, alternatives, offering things like more story with little in terms of challenge or even gameplay. Mr. Walker, these might be games for you, things like Telltale games. This market is already being satisfied in my opinion, so no. I don't think games in general need these skip modes that let you essentially skip to the end of the game, I guess, if you want. It's kind of like when I was talking about microtransactions in my recent video. If you're just going to buy everything good in the game and be the best, why even play? Just buy all the stuff that makes your character the strongest and you're done. Don't even hit start. You're just wasting your time. What is there to get out of it if you're not going to play the game? You just want to skip to the end. What's the point? Sounds like a waste of 60 bucks, honestly, to me. So I guess this puts me in the sewage category, according to Mr. Walker. Those of us who believe in challenge in games, who see beating a difficult one as an accomplishment, we're the problem in the gaming industry. Here he writes, I know an awful lot of what's made gaming culture such a miserably toxic environment over the last few years is deeply wrapped in subjects like this, and those who spread the toxicity are those most likely to be on the side of condemning game options that remove challenge. Moving on, he says, but at the same time, I'm not going to allow that sewage to pollute my opinions. Wow. Damn. Sewage. So if you believe in certain games need to be challenging, they need to be something that you overcome to give you that sense of accomplishment, you're sewage. Thanks, that's very nice of you. And his crux of this article really is this, painting this us versus them dynamic that journalists across the board seem really interested in these days. You know, there's our team, the good team, and then there's the bad team over there. Ugh. People like me who want there to be a variety of games. I want a variety. I'm not saying every game needs to be hard, and I'm also not saying every game needs to be super easy. There should be a swath. Some games are for everyone, some aren't. If you're on my side, I guess, you're also the main problem with the gaming industry, according to this guy. And the other side is people like him, who want everything to be defeatable with the push of one button, literal win button. They're the good guys, too, by the way. I mean, just apply this. Say we did this with a big JRPG. You're going to have people grinding, struggling with bosses, putting in 60 to 80 hours. And then there's people who are like, oh yeah, I already beat it. I beat it in like one sitting. Took me like 5 or 6 hours or so. You're really supposed to feel like if you picked up, like, say, a Persona 5 and people were beating it in like 8 hours, you're really supposed to feel like your experience, you know, putting in the grind, the effort to progress through the game, like it wasn't devalued because other people watched it in movie mode and they beat it. They got the same exact experience as you did. Again, people who want that, I believe there's already free options. You know, the stuff, Let's Plays and stuff on YouTube. There's always videos. If you're just interested in the story, the cinematics, there's every game I think I can imagine has someone has uploaded a video like, oh, all cutscenes, essentially movie mode. So I really don't even see a market here. I don't see where people who just want to watch the game are going to pay $60. That's really my big problem here. I don't see a market for this. And yes, he even bashes those who feel like with these difficulty variations or different win conditions, you should be able to get like things like different endings. Again, to quote here, or maybe to embrace the ugly, icky attitude, you get a different ending. And those who need to feel better about themselves than others because of their ability to press some buttons in time with a cartoon get to see the proper ending. If you read this, and I always encourage if I'm focusing on like one article or something like that, that people go out and read it for themselves. And if you read this top to bottom, it really sounds here like he just doesn't like people who are good at games, or at least better than him, which is probably most people. But like I said, I see this as a non-issue, as someone who actually plays a lot of games, has friends who are gamers, and feels like I'm pretty in touch, not the most in touch, but fairly in touch with the gaming community, unlike your average games journalist. I've never seen someone argue until now that games need these win buttons, which is essentially what he's arguing for here. Again, the article is titled Skip Boss Button or whatever, but if you read through it, what he really wants is a win button. He wants to skip through any portion of a game he just doesn't like, which I think raises a lot of questions just in as far as when he wants to talk about dividing the gaming community, because again, he says, I'm the people. Wouldn't that kind of divide the gaming community a little bit? It's like you couldn't even really talk to people about game. Like a lot of times it'll be like you didn't play the same game. You know, you could be talking about a game and, oh, what about this section? Wasn't that awesome? And the other person's going to be like, oh, I don't know. I might have skipped that part. It's like, that honestly sounds like more division. If people are just, you have a group of people that are just skipping through sections of a game, they're not going to experience it. It's like, I see that as more divisive, honestly. My main question in response to this is if video games need a win button, why isn't everything that's classified as a game, not just video games, also have a win button? You know, board games. You spend 20 minutes setting up the Monopoly board, but, oh, sorry, I hit the win button, so I want to play again? Hey, I'm kind of fat and slow, but I'd like to play in the NFL. Can we just get me on the field and hit skip to the point where I'm one step from the end zone? Yeah, I don't feel like doing any of that work stuff. If you don't understand why people feel like beating certain games is an achievement, as Walker sarcastically describes us, deserving champions, then if you don't understand that, I don't think you really understand why people play games. Now, can games have easy modes? Sure. But again, that's up to the developer, where I really take issue here. Saying every game essentially should have not just an easy mode, but this skip nonsense is basically telling the creator how to do his job. Telling the painter, yeah, this looks pretty good, but I want you to do it this way instead. Do not think if this was standard in practicing games, every game needed to have these skip mechanics, that it wouldn't drastically change the way a lot of games are made. It certainly would. I mean, pretty much all games are designed with progression in mind. one section prepares you for the next. That all goes out the window if you have people skipping around. Take that JRPG for example. If someone wants to play the first 5 hours, but skip the next 5 to get to the next major plot point, they haven't built up XP and gear to prepare them for what comes next. Or like in an action game, maybe one section is difficult because it's trying to teach you a new mechanic or something that will be vital in the rest of the game. Well, you skip that part, so you're not ready for the following sections. Everything has to be rethought. Again, for a, I believe, incredibly minuscule amount of people who would actually use this mechanic, or better yet, their purchases would be made or broken off of it. Unlike this article would suggest, I don't want there to be all this division in gaming because I want it to be some sort of exclusive club. Rather, I want others to feel the same sense of accomplishment like I have. Sure, maybe you can't just jump into it with Dark Souls, but that's why there's this variety. There are countless games that are great jumping off points to get into this hobby, and you can work your way up to the more difficult ones, and most importantly, find the ones that suit your playstyle. Still, if you're just going to hit the win button and beat everything, how are you even going to find out which games you actually enjoy and which ones you don't if you're not even really playing them? Better yet, the message I would have to those looking to get into video games is this. No, in video games, not everyone gets a trophy. Oftentimes, you have to work for it. But that's why, when you do, it feels pretty damn good. I suggest you try it. And with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts about the video game win button in the comments. Do you think all games need to allow you to skip through the sections that you don't like whenever you want? As always, I'm John Zacari, and thanks for watching.